Hello, I'm Peter and this is the Scottish Flute channel, the channel for all things traditional flute and whistle playing in Scotland. Welcome! As you can see, I'm not in my study, I'm not even in my kitchen. I'm here in the open air in Seaton Park in Aberdeen. And today I've got something really special. I have sitting next to me Tiernan Courell, and we're going to have a bit of a chat about where Tiernan's come from, what he's been doing, what he's doing now, and what he's going to do in future. So here we are. Welcome, Tiernan.
Hello, thanks for having me.
So you're welcome. Are you well?
Yes, I'm doing great.
Good. So, I know there's quite a few people in Aberdeen know who you are now, and I'm sure there's quite a few people in Glasgow know who you are.
Yeah.
But do you want to just tell me a little bit about where you've come from, what you've done?
Yeah. So I'm originally from Sligo in Ireland. So I'll go right back to the very beginning. I started playing when I was maybe 12. Yeah, about 12. My first flute teacher was a girl called Niamh Farrell, and most people would know Niamh as a singer. She sometimes sings with Teda, and Project West is another band she played, or she's sang in. But she's also a brilliant flute player, so she was my first flute player. And also at the same time getting lessons with her, I was part of Cultus. I don't know if you've heard of Cultus.
I've heard of Cultus.
Yeah.
Do you want to explain that in case anyone else knows as
so
little as me?
I suppose it's a bit like Face Ross.
Right.
Am I pronouncing that right? Face Ross. Yeah. It's pretty much like the Irish version of that. So grew up doing that, doing all the competitions. The big traditional music competition in Ireland is called the Flacciol. So just did that since I was 12 all the way up until I was 18, 19. So yeah, but along the way I had so many other different flute teachers. Niamh was my first. Probably my second was Michael Hurley. I don't know if you know Michael. He lives in Sligo. He's a great teacher and flute player. And then Liam Kelly from Dervish was a teacher of mine. June McCormack was another teacher that I had. Who else would have taught me? That's pretty much the range of flute teachers I had. Dave Sheridan would have taught me once or twice. Okay.
So what drew you to the flute?
It was what I was given.
Okay.
It was what I was handed.
Right.
Yeah. I think Mum got speaking to Niamh, and Niamh had a spare flute, and that's why I played it. It's funny how it works out like that, isn't it? It's like there's no real thought behind it, but
but it's worked out.
Somehow, yeah. So I started on the tin whistle when I was 8, and I gave it up. So there was one year where I tried it when I was 8, but I used to hate it. I used to, on the way to whistle classes, used to throw my whistle out the window of the car, and Dad would be going through the bushes looking for it. So yeah, I retired at the age of 8, but then took it up again at the age of 12, and then that's. But when I started at 12, it was just the flute. So I think I just took to the flute. Was lucky with that.
Oh, that's good.
Yeah.
So when you did Niamh stay close by, or is that?
She did actually. Yeah, maybe 15-minute walk.
Yeah.
2 minutes in the car, so it was handy. And we'd drive past her house when I was coming home from school and stuff like that. I did the lessons with my sister.
Okay.
As well, so it was kind of like Mum was happy about that because it was like killing 2 birds with 1 stone. But so.
Is she the good one? Is she?
Yeah, you should hear her. She's amazing. Yeah, but so that's how it all started.
Excellent. Yeah. So are you from a musical family?
My mum doesn't play, but my dad does. My dad's Declan Courell. He plays the guitar.
Okay.
He's played on. There's a fiddle player called Philip Duffy from Sligo. Dad played on his album, and it's just. He grew up playing it as well. He's from Castlebar in Mayo. Okay. So it's quite a good music scene there. But so that's kind of what got me into it, I suppose. Right. And then when I got a little bit better, I could play with him, and I think that's another reason why I kind of picked up, keys and different stuff like that, because I feel like I was never really taught that, but just because my dad was a guitar player, I just picked it up more by ear, so it was handy in that sense. It was a bit of a head start, I think, having dad, be a musician,
No, that's good.
So but my sisters don't play anymore, unfortunately.
Oh no.
Yeah, they're retired as well. But yeah, dad still plays, and
Excellent.
So.
Oh well, good stuff.
Yeah.
And what drew you to come over to Glasgow? I mean, obviously you wanted to study at the conservatoire.
Yes. Yeah. So it was when I was doing my final exams in school. It was kind of whole way through the year I was torn between going with my heart or going with my head, and my head was telling me to do primary school teaching, which is ironic, which is what I'm doing right now. But my head was saying maybe I should just go straight to do primary school teaching after my exams at the age of 18. But I think pretty much last minute I just said I want to do music. So I just went over to Glasgow to do the audition. I also did one in UL too, but when I was over in Glasgow I just thought it was class. I just thought the facilities were amazing.
Right, okay.
Everyone I met there was really nice. It was a big city, like just compared to like Limerick. Limerick is a nice spot as well, but it's just like Glasgow is like, high-rise buildings, and it was something really different. Yeah, it was something really different. And Hamish Napier, I hadn't heard of him until looked up the RCS course, and I started listening to his stuff, and I just thought he was brilliant. So I said I want to be taught by that guy. So that's why I decided to move over.
Okay.
Yeah.
So remind me, in Limerick, is that where Niall Keegan is?
Yes. Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay. Right.
It is. He's the head of the UL course.
Okay.
Niall Keegan. Yeah.
Another phenomenal flute player.
Yeah, he's brilliant. Yeah.
But so Glasgow won over the big city.
Yeah. So.
And along the way, when did you win the All Ireland Senior Flute competition at the Fla?
So it was actually,
because you missed that bit out.
I was getting to it.
Okay.
So the year, so it was that year that I started in the RCS. So I think I had just finished my first year in the RCS. So 2017. Started in, August of 2016, and then I think the Fla was August of 2017.
Right. Okay.
So I think I half expected when I entered that, like, that, I'd be doing it like loads of times, but then somehow it just snuck up and I won it the first time, and I almost had it in my head. I was like, oh, I had kind of psyched myself up to do this a few more times, but I think because I was just playing so much that year.
Right. Yeah.
That year was like probably the most I've ever played.
Well, 2017 seems to be fairly formative for you, because did you release your EP in 2017 as well?
Well, so I formed my band Trip in 2017. We did have an EP that didn't get released, but that was one EP that we recorded then. But I have got a solo one, but that was released last year.
Oh right.
Yeah. Okay. But
So Trip formed from the Royal Conservatoire, from your colleagues there? Or?
Yeah. So we all stayed in student accommodation. We're all living on the same floor. So it was like as if someone put us there. So we had to become a band.
So the band was formed because of which floor you were on.
Yeah, we didn't have a choice. It just came from that, and we were all really close friends anyways, so that's pretty much it. Yeah.
Okay. And tell me a bit more about Trip then. So we know why it formed, because you were all staying together, but what was the drive?
I think it was so my friend Craig Baxter, the Baron player in Trip. I'll just tell you all the people in Trip. So Craig Baxter plays the Baron. Okay. Isla Callister from the Isle of Man plays the fiddle. Michael Biggins plays the accordion. He's probably very well known. Well, he's probably equally well known, but he's maybe more so well known for playing the piano. But he plays the piano accordion in our band. Rory Matheson plays the piano in Trip, and we've got a guitar player called Alistair Mackenzie from Dingwall who plays the guitar. But I think the way it came about was, so I tell a lie, I was on the floor below, they were on the floor above, and I was kind of friendly with Craig, and then there was one day Craig just said to me, do you want to be in our band? So I suppose I was kind of maybe the second choice. But I think they'd only been formed a day or something, so I skipped that bit out.
Yeah. We'll cut that bit.
Yeah, cut it. But yeah, so he was like, just come up and we're having tunes. So I went up to, I think it was Michael's room, and we just played tunes and we recorded them. And I think we entered like the Hands Up for Trad Battle of the Folk Band or something. So we just came up with sets there and then in the first rehearsal. But yeah, that's kind of how it first started. I think Battle of the Bands was like our kind of first goal.
Yeah.
And then I think we got a support slot for Celtic Connections. So we had those two things to kind of work towards, which kind of propelled it forward, you know.
Yeah. So not afraid of the big stages then?
Well, still a bit afraid, but we do it anyways.
So you got going and you released an album last year?
With Trip, yes.
A drop for Neptune?
Yes, yeah. When was that? Was that 2022 or 21? I'm not sure.
I think it was 22, but
okay.
you tell me.
I should know. Yeah, we released it Celtic Connections. It must have been 22. Yeah, it was 22. We released it Celtic Connections. We had always planned to do an album. Kind of COVID came. It knocked everything out of shot, and then we did record it during kind of the tail end of COVID. It was still quite high restrictions, but it was in a period where we could do it. Yeah. And then I think it closed down again. So we got it right at the right moment.
Yeah.
But yeah, and then it took a while to get it released, and then by the time we did release it, kind of COVID was finishing off. So
it must have been quite difficult keeping the momentum going, and when there was nowhere to go out and play particularly, and then all the restrictions when you were recording as well.
Yeah, well, I think, to be honest, a reason that I'm doing primary school teaching, or I've finished that now up in Aberdeen, but the reason I chose to do this was just because of COVID. I was like, because everything shut down, and I had to get like a couple of different jobs that I didn't really enjoy.
Yeah.
So I just felt like I needed something else or something in the back pocket, you know. So
I think at any point it's really hard trying to be a professional musician without something else backing it up.
I think so, yeah.
It's a difficult one.
I think, and a lot of my income anyways was from just teaching, but it was music teaching, flute teaching. So why not just teach, but do more teaching, but not just flute teaching,
Yeah.
So yeah.
Oh well, good stuff. So tell me a bit about what was the concept behind A Drop for Neptune then? What because that seems to be quite a distinctive title, and it seems to have. Are the pieces connected to the sea, or?
Yes. Yeah. So, just because we're from all different, I think in our bio, the Trip bio, it's is it like the four corners of the Celtic diaspora? So yeah, it's just because we're from all over. Michael's from Newcastle, England, so we've got that influence from him, and then the three guys, Ali, Rory and Craig, are from Scotland. Isla's from the Isle of Man, which has their own music style and culture, and then obviously I'm from Ireland, so it's just from everywhere.
So the sea connects you. Largely.
We go. Yeah.
All right. Okay.
But I think Ali told us that saying. It was like a drop for me. This is what it was, a saying that sailors say to keep them safe, to keep them safe at sea. Was a drop for me, a drop for the boat, and then a drop for Neptune.
Right.
So they would with a bottle of whiskey or whatever.
You believe that?
No. But it sounds good. A drop for Neptune.
Right.
So.
No, I haven't heard that one before. That's good.
Yeah. So that's where that comes from.
So what's the plans for the band then? Are there what's next?
Well, we've got a few gigs this summer, which is good.
Yes, I believe you're at Stonehaven Folk Festival.
We are. Yeah, that would be great.
Good.
Looking forward to
Stonehaven Folk Festival, worth going to.
Shameless plug there.
Me? No.
But yeah, so Stonehaven, then we're playing on the Isle of Man, and then we're a few other places. Rothbury Festival, and then something else, yeah. But it's every weekend in July, which is good.
Brilliant. Yeah.
But then after that, we wanna record a new album.
Brilliant.
And just get gigging a bit more.
Yeah.
But I think maybe around Christmas time we had vaguely thought that we would record something new. So
interesting. So watch this space.
Yeah. So we don't have any of the sets written yet. I mean, we've got some new sets that will probably end up on the album. If anyone's seen us live, we're at Sky Live there.
Okay. Yeah.
Was that 2 weekends ago? But yeah, we played some new stuff there, so that'll probably end up on the album. But yeah, looking forward to that.
So you were teaching music in Aberdeen, teaching flute in Aberdeen as well.
Yes.
And I believe that came about after a gig at Stonehaven Folk Club. And
is that right?
Yeah, that's right, because it was Meg. Meg is connected to the Stonehaven Folk Club and to Scat.
Gotcha. Oh, was that wait? I think we played in the Blue Lamp with Trip.
Oh right. Oh, maybe it was the Blue Lamp.
Yeah. And Meg was there, so maybe that was that.
Yeah. I'll cut that bit as well.
I was just trying to think when that was.
So you were teaching with Scat as well?
Yes, I was. Yeah.
How did that go? How did you find that?
It was good. I kind of had imposter syndrome a little bit.
Why?
When I was doing it, I don't know. I just feel like everyone in the class knew so much about flute playing. See, I think sometimes I feel like the reason I get imposter syndrome with teaching the flute, especially to adults as well, is I don't really actually know much about the flute. I just play it.
Okay.
I don't know anything about maintenance. I don't know anything about really. I've got an F flute. I don't really play it that much, but I have my one flute. Don't really know what wood it's made. I think it's African blackwood. You know what I mean? I just don't really know much about it or anything. How, the bowing system, is that what they call it? Like
bowing system, yeah.
I don't know anything about that. I just kind of play it. So sometimes I feel like I was asking them more questions than they were asking me, which was great for me, but yeah, sometimes.
Well, I've heard they all thoroughly enjoyed it, so which is good.
Good,
Good. So you're planning to move back down to Glasgow?
Yeah.
And I guess that's an easier spot for the band as well.
Yeah. Well, so I've actually got school in Edinburgh, so I'll probably be closer to Edinburgh than Glasgow. But the idea with moving to Edinburgh is just that it's close.
Yes.
It's close.
Yes,
it's pretty much Glasgow. Yeah. So.
Don't tell the people in Edinburgh that.
Yeah, they won't be happy. So yeah, arm's length from Glasgow.
So I'm interested, just to circle back a little bit, I'm interested in your impressions or experiences of Irish traditional music and Scottish traditional music. Is there a distinct set of different styles, or do you think it's all kind of merging?
Well, I think it's merging more and more now, probably due to like the internet. But the stuff that hasn't merged, or the more distinct, or either differences or stuff like that, is, I think, well, in terms of tunes, a lot of Scottish tunes. This is my opinion now. People might think this is
all I can ask you. Is your opinion.
There's a lot of tunes that, like, so Irish tunes, there'd be quite a few, like, A part, B part. Scottish tunes have, like, not all the time, but there can be 4-part tunes a lot of the time. And those, I often find when I go to a session, I'll know the first 2 parts. And then I'm like, there's a 3rd part, but it's very similar to the first part. And then the 4th part is very similar to the 2nd part. And I don't know those parts.
Yes.
So I feel like in Ireland, it's. I mean, there can be 4-part tunes, but I think it's just, a lot of the time it's like A part, B part. And I think in terms of style, like, I think I for example, James Mackenzie, he was a teacher of mine when I was in the RCS.
Yeah.
He's got, maybe it comes from the pipes, he's got a very, like, snappy finger style. and I think it's great, and it's so rhythmic. But I think sometimes, like, in Ireland, it's more like flowy. It's like,
okay, yeah,
it's kind of like flows up and down, but like sometimes flute players who maybe have the influence from the pipes, it's more rigid. It's just different. There's not one that's better. I think they're both great.
I think also the pipe tunes, of course, yes, but also maybe Strathspeys as well, where you've got that definite snap going on in there. Yeah.
Very like dotted and just very, very. I think sometimes, like, with Irish flute playing, it can be like all the tunes kind of morph into one, but with flute players who have the influence from the pipes and just the Scottish influence, it's like, feels like every note is just like, it's like meant to be there. It's like this is this note and then this is that note. Sometimes in Irish flute playing, it's like it kind of flows in between. So
no, that's interesting because there are certain schools of thought that say, particularly with pipe tunes, that there's a right way and a wrong way to play the tune.
Right.
Whereas in other instruments, it's more there's more improvisation is more accepted, I think.
Yeah.
Did you find that at all in Ireland, or is that just?
No, I think so. Yeah. Well, there's a flute player called Seamus Tansey. I don't know if you know Seamus Tansey. He like, his style of playing is like, very much like throw your own thing to it, and not like there's one way of playing it and that's the way you play it. So I think it's a lot of the time, a lot of people would regard him as the king of flute playing. But yeah, he kind of goes in between and comes up with his own bits. So I think like that's why it's different a little bit.
And what about because I see your music as being it's very dynamic. There's a lot of energy in it. It's very modern as well, very modern style. Do you see there being a big difference between the traditional style and the modern style, the modern traditional and the older traditional?
In terms of just flute playing, or in terms of
in general, but if there are specifics in flute, then yeah.
Well, I think like, my flute EP, I went in being like, this is going to be trad as it comes.
Okay.
and then it just grew arms and legs.
Yeah.
There's a set called the Cowboy March, which is definitely not trad. And then there's like the jig set on my EP starts off fairly trad, and then it kind of changes. So I think in terms of like arrangement and stuff like that, there's very trad ways of like playing, and it would be like, for example, in my EP, like there's in the jig set there's a bit where the clav comes in, and obviously that wouldn't be, it wouldn't be trad per se. But I think in terms of my flute playing, I don't think there's anything I'm doing that isn't trad. You know what I mean? Like it's not
technique wise.
So it's just everything around it is maybe not trad. The tunes on their own, I think, are fairly trad. It all depends on what you put around it. You know what I mean?
Yeah. I think a lot is affected by the accompaniment and the style of the accompaniment. So there's a lot of a lot more innovation in guitar playing, I'd say, nowadays than there would have been, say, 40 years ago.
I think so. Yeah. But there's nothing wrong with that either.
No, not at all. So, no, it's got to progress, I think.
Yeah. I think like one flute album that I think is, well, it's my favourite, I think it's one of the best, is Kevin Crawford's Carrying the Tune album. And that was kind of the album I was like, I'd love to make my EP similar to that, and it's usually like just guitar, barron and flute, and that's it the whole way through. And there's one set, I think it's the third set on the album. There's 3 tunes, but they're all in G, and like, to someone you would maybe think, oh, you need to change the keys or whatever, but to me I just think that's so great, because it's almost like a 12-part tune or something, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
So I kind of, from listening to that album, I was like, I want to strip it right back and like go back to the basics. But then when we were in the studio, we were just having too much fun, and things got out of hand. So it's done now.
So following on from that, who are your main influences then?
I'd say firstly it was my teacher, Neve, and then it was Mike McGoldrick.
Yeah.
I used to practice along to his albums. That was like, thinking back on that was like one of the first few times in my life where I was doing something that wasn't like, I don't know, playing the PlayStation or just that I was like actually really, really enjoyed it and felt it was like meditation, playing along to his stuff, you know. So when I listen back to his music, I have a lot of like good memories. And then kind of after McGoldrick, it became Kevin Crawford and Dave Sheridan.
Right.
And I would say that those are my three.
Yeah.
Okay. Dave Sheridan, Kevin Crawford, and Mike McGoldrick. But then there's sprinkled throughout, there's more, but I think those are my three favourite, you know.
I think for me, Michael McGoldrick's albums are really interesting because his first album, Morning Rory, was just as trad as it could possibly be.
Yeah.
But the next album, Fused, was just like, whoa, what's happened there? Wow.
Yeah.
Was
that the next one after?
I think it was. I think it was. Oh,
it's a big difference. Yeah,
it's a huge difference in style. And you think, gosh, it did take me a while to get into it, but I really like it now. But it was such a change.
Yeah.
What about composition style then? How do you
write
tunes? How do you write tunes? How do they come to you?
I think for me, I like to think of tunes like not that I've come up with a tune, that you kind of discover it. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
It's like brushing away at sand until you find something. You know. That's why I say I never like. You know, some people say they go out into nature and then they become inspired by a bush or something, or a tree or something.
Well, that's why we're here.
There's plenty of bushes here. That doesn't really work for me. I think for me it's just like sitting down and allowing the time to just, you know, to come up with it. And like most of the tunes I write are not good, so you know, it's about just putting the time aside. And it's a numbers game as well at the end of the day. Like, you write 100 tunes, like, one of them's going to be good. Like, one of them has to be good. Like, and the thing with tunes as well is, like, I could write a tune and I mightn't like it, and then I could get my friend Rory Matheson to play it, and then I might like it then, you know. So it's so weird with tunes. It's like the way someone else plays it.
Yeah.
It's all subjective, you know. So there's no such thing as a bad tune either. But
I don't know. I think
there probably are some bad tunes.
I've written some bad ones.
Yeah. But I think it was Adam Sutherland said that to me. He likes to think of it as well, like you've discovered a tune as opposed to you've written a tune. Because you're following a kind of. I feel like in my head it's like, where does it need to go here? It's not like, it doesn't feel like I'm coming up with it. It feels like I'm following a pattern until it's done.
And do you think about a subject? Like, so I want to write a tune about, I'm going to write a tune for Michael McGoldrick. Would you have his playing or him in your head for
actually, yeah,
as your composing?
I think I would actually, yeah. Like, for example, the jig set on my EP, Father Spodo Komodo's Trip to Togo. It's a long name. I think for that one I was inspired by his set, Catherine McGoldrick's Jigs.
Okay.
And I said to myself, I want to write a tune that is similar to that. That kind of feel and that kind of, just a tune in G, like. But I suppose I maybe had like the kind of the shape of the chords in my head, similar chords to what he was playing, you know.
Okay. Yeah.
So like, obviously those are people say the chords are like the emotion of the tune or whatever. I mean, the melody can be too, but I suppose I wanted the tune to kind of stick on the one for quite a while and then change in the B parts. So that was kind of the inspiration for that, and it was based off something else. But I wrote, on the Trip album, there's a slow air that I wrote for my dog Rusty, who passed away.
Oh, right, okay.
So I mean, I wrote it for him with him in mind.
Yeah.
It was the first time I did that. So I'd say for more slower stuff, I would kind of try to think of an emotion, you know.
Yeah.
I remember I wrote a tune as well for, you know, Mike Grinter passed away.
Yes.
And that was a similar thing. I tried to think about that. But yeah, for just maybe jigs and reels, I just kind of, just start off with a nice phrase, and then it's not really, I don't think about emotion too much for that kind of a reel or a jig, you know. But yeah.
Oh, interesting.
Yeah.
Okay, well, thank you for that. Do you want to give us some examples of your playing?
Yes.
That would be fantastic.
Yeah. So maybe I'll do that jig, one for my EP.
Yeah.
I'll go for it. This is the jig I was just telling you about, the one that was inspired by Miss Catherine McGoldrick's jig set. So maybe you'll hear the inspiration. Oh, people don't think I've copied it now or something. They get plagiarized. But yeah.
Fantastic.
Yeah, thanks.
Oh my, so just to wrap up, where will you be performing in the near future?
First thing is Stonehaven. Yeah,
okay, Stonehaven Folk Festival.
Yeah, that'll be with Trip. With Trip. Is that the first weekend in July?
Yes, I think so. It usually is.
Yeah.
I should know that because I'm volunteering down there. Oh well.
Yes, but yes, Stonehaven Folk Festival with Trip.
All right, well, we'll see you there.
Yes, great.
Excellent. Well,
thank you.
Thank you. Okay, hello. Sorry I had a bit of camera trouble at the end of that interview, but I hope you enjoyed it. I think you'll agree Tiernan is a very personable young man and highly talented as well. I know that the flute class and whistle class that he was teaching at Scottish Culture and Traditions thoroughly enjoyed the time with him, and they gained a lot from it. So I have put up in the comments links to Tiernan and Trip's sites, websites, bandcamp sites and YouTube channels. Do check them out. And if you haven't got a copy of A Drop for Neptune, it's well worth it. It's a fabulous little album. And the next thing coming up, as mentioned in the main interview, is the Stonehaven Folk Festival, first weekend in July. I have put links to that in the comments as well. If you can make it up, it's a fabulous little festival, very friendly, really nice time is had by everybody. And this year there's a big focus on the flute. We have Nuala Kenedy on the Friday night. We have Tom Oakes and Ross Couper also on the Friday night. And of course we have trip with Tiernan there on the Saturday night concert. And all of those people are doing workshops over the weekend as well. So well worth a trip up for that. If you are there, say hello. I will be dotting about, stewarding at the main concerts and generally hanging about the town all weekend. And also, if you enjoyed that interview, if you want to see more interviews, let me know in the comments. If you have anyone you have in mind that would be good to interview, let me know in the comments. I have a number of names in the hat already for people that I want to interview, and will hopefully be doing more of that in the future. But remember, always like, subscribe, and leave a comment. All right, bye for now. Catch you later.